Well, what's up, guys? Well, earlier this week, a group of black supremacists managed to initiate a coup d'etat at the University of Missouri, where they managed to force two white people at the university, the president and the chancellor, to resign over supposed racial hate crimes against black people that supposedly took place at the university. One guy claimed that somebody drove by in a truck and shouted the word nigger at him. A black man claimed this. Somebody else claimed that there was a swastika made out of feces left in a bathroom floor. Someone spelled out a swastika, I guess. But no one took a picture of it because, when you see a swastika on the floor made out of feces and you're offended by it, you don't take a picture of it and post it to Twitter. No, you just talk about it. A lot of random accusations which are highly questionable, especially when you consider that earlier this year at the University of Delaware, the remains of tree lanterns were mistaken for nooses. That's right. At a separate university earlier this year, somebody saw these left in a tree. Some black people saw these left in a tree, black students at the University of Delaware, and they thought that they were nooses and proof of a racial hate crime. Turns out they were just the leftover strings that hold up these lanterns commonly used at parties. Of course, that didn't stop a huge mob of Black Lives Matter activists from protesting and screaming and crying racism. The reason I bring up this separate incident is because it shows how these professional victims are looking for racism around every corner. They literally want there to be racism to justify their mediocrity. Hey, if it's the white man oppressing you, you can't blame yourself. You can't put the responsibility on yourself for why your life sucks. So, if a complete meltdown is possible over something as silly as a mistake of like this, it's not too hard for me to think that maybe what's occurred at the University of Missouri this week with the president and chancellor resigning, two white people resigning, not too hard to believe that maybe the supposed accusations of racism, which there's no proof, there's no documentation, there's nothing, maybe that's also these Black Lives Matter black supremacist cult members looking for racism where none exists. In the wake of all this supposed racial hostilities, the university even has its own Twitter account for alerts. So if you see something or hear something that's threatening, you can call 911 immediately or even send alerts to their Twitter account to let them know of any racial hostilities. Well, I found a racial hostility, and it's in the form of this guy. As you guys may know, this man's name here is Jonathan Butler. He's the guy who went on a hunger strike this week at the University of Missouri. He's actually a student there. And he went on a hunger strike this week because he says that he's not going to eat a single bite of food until the president of the university resigns. Though, ironically, it actually turns out that this dude who went on the hunger strike, who's a major black activist at the University of Missouri, turns out he's actually the son of a very, very wealthy man who's worth maybe 10, 15, or $20 million. I don't remember the number. So Mr. Oppressed, we're victims of the white supremacy. A privileged black kid. That black privilege is incredible. But let's talk about racism for a moment. Let's take a look at what this man's shirt reads. I love my blackness and yours. So let that sink in for a moment. I love my blackness and yours. This is a man who says he's fighting against racism, that white people are a bunch of racists. And here he is, I love my blackness and yours. And now people say, but that's just black pride. That doesn't make him a racist. That just means that he has black pride. He loves himself. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, really? Okay, so if a white person wore a shirt that said, I love my whiteness and yours, that's just white pride, right? You wouldn't have a fucking temper tantrum and call that racism, right? That's just self-love, right? Well, of course, we all know that that's bullshit. That if somebody wore a shirt, I love my whiteness and yours, it would be called racism. It would be that people would assume that's symptomatic of some kind of white supremacy, and they would attack them. In fact, that even happened with Piers Morgan. Piers fucking Morgan, he saw that when another major leader of the Black Lives Matter movement, otherwise known as the Black Racist movement or the Black Supremacist movement, Piers Morgan went onto Twitter and said, I love my whiteness and your blackness. Basically, there's this guy named D-Ray, and he is a leader of the Black Lives Matter movement, one, I guess you can say. And he put this tweet out, I love my blackness and yours. A common theme. This isn't the same guy in this picture, by the way. This is not the same guy. They're different people, but both affiliated with Black Lives Matter. I love my blackness and yours. A very common theme. So Piers Morgan, I guess, because he was wondering, that sounds kind of racist, Piers Morgan said, I love my whiteness and your blackness in response to him. So Piers Morgan didn't even say, I love my whiteness and yours. He said, I love my whiteness and your blackness. You know, the racial equality kumbaya approach. And even that, which was halfway pandering to this guy by saying, I love my whiteness and your blackness, instead of I love my whiteness and yours, even this got a hostile reaction from black people all over Twitter. This black guy said, why must you always feel the need to be included, Piers? This person said, no one's talking about your whiteness. Your whiteness isn't an existential threat. Embraced despite reckless hate. Which is funny because, again, you want to talk about black people who are supposedly victims and oppressed. How about this fucking professional victim who's the son of a very wealthy black man? So given the Piers Morgan reaction that I just showed you, it's pretty clear that if a white person wore a shirt saying, I love my whiteness and yours, they would be lynched by the black supremacist mob. So, I went onto Twitter and I decided, hey, if University of Missouri is all concerned about, racial hate messages of racial hate and hostility, and they even had two of their high-ranking members of faculty and the president step down from the university because of supposed racial hate crimes against black people, which there's no evidence for. You can report it to the University of Missouri. Well, I figured I would send a tweet over to MU Alert and let them know that I just found a startling and sobering case of racial hostility. I tweeted, hey, MU Alert, I just found another hostile racist message on your campus. Please address this immediately. And, of course, it's a picture of this black supremacist racist. Okay, there's really nothing else we can call these people anymore. They're black supremacist racists, masquerading as victims and using false victimization to accuse white people of doing something they didn't do and then to handicap and destroy their lives, in this case, ruining people's reputations and careers. And, at the core, this is really what I believe. This is really what I believe happened at the University of Missouri this week. I tweeted this out today. The only substantial racial hate crime I can see at the University of Missouri was the public lynching of two likely innocent white people from the university. So understand that, there's just no explanation for it. I mean, how do you explain the son of a millionaire, this guy right here, claims to be a victim, yet is so privileged? So what could possibly be his intention other than a black supremacist intention? With his I love my blackness t-shirt, Mr. I'm a victim. A victim of what? You are a privileged person, son of a millionaire. Son of a millionaire. Oh, look, here's the Africa flag colors with a fist. Ladies and gentlemen, these are racists. All right, these are racists. Okay? They're not victims. There is no evidence of any significant, or even if it even occurred at all, of a racial hate crime against anybody at the University of Missouri. These are racists who hate white people deeply for really no reason. And you have to just understand these people. They're racists. Okay? Oh, but you can only be racist if you have privilege and power, so black people can't be racist because they have no privilege or power. You want to say he has no privilege and power? He's the son of a millionaire who's worth maybe, I think it was between 10 and $20 million. You're going to tell me he has no privilege and power? Get the fuck out of here. That redefining of racism to exclude black people is just a tool to justify black hatred of white people. Never forget it. Never forget it. Never fucking forget it. I mean, think about it. When Black Lives Matter is even interrupting a Bernie Sanders speech, Bernie Sanders who marched with Martin Luther fucking King during the 1960s civil rights movement, Bernie Sanders who panders and grovels to black people at all costs, no matter what they do. When the Black Lives Matter movement is accusing Bernie Sanders of being a white supremacist liberal, they literally said this, of being a white supremacist liberal, a racist progressive. Do you know that the Black Lives Matter movement, their actions are not about justice? It's about attacking white people and looking for any excuse to do it. Bernie Sanders of all fucking people. This is not about justice. This is not about protecting victims of racism. This is about a cult of deeply bitter, racist black people finding any excuse to attack white people. Not even Bernie fucking Sanders is safe. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my videos and would like to support me directly, check me out on Patreon.
That's not very traditional, and I think that a man should really pay for the first date.
Fuck that. We're splitting the bill.